A large number of Russian soldiers were captured in the city of Bakhmut. Russian troops lost up to 21 artillery systems, 18 armored vehicles in the past 24 hours. During a press conference at the Kyiv Press Center on the afternoon of Sunday, May 14, Ukraine's Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said that the Ukrainian army is advancing step by step on the outskirts of Bakhmut, Donetsk region, and has captured a large number of people. Russian invaders. At the heart of military operations in the direction of Bakhmut, the situation is developing dynamically. Our troops are advancing in two directions on the outskirts of Bakhmut. Our army is destroying the enemy and has captured many Russian soldiers, Deputy Minister Hanna Maliar said. After receiving more fighters from the Polish Air Force, the Ukrainian Air Force increased to 50 sorties in the past day, along with artillery effectively disrupting all attempts to rescue the Bakhmut battlefield. Because there was no relief, the Russian army surrendered in large numbers along with the weapons of war. In the past 24 hours, 620 Russian troops have been eliminated from the battle along with 5 tanks, 18 armored vehicles, 21 artillery systems, a multiple launch rocket system, and 7 troop and fuel transport vehicles. Overall, from February 24, 2022 to May 14, the armed forces of Ukraine eliminated about 198,880 Russian troops. Total enemy combat losses included 3,756 tanks, 7,325 armored vehicles, 3,116 artillery systems, 562 multiple launch missile systems, 314 air defense systems, 308 aircraft, 294 helicopters, 2,696 drones, 970 cruise missiles, 18 warships, 6,018 troop and fuel transport vehicles, and 404 special equipment units. 2. The first steps in Ukraine's counteroffensive will be taken soon, says Zelensky. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that first important steps of a much-anticipated military counterattack against Russian forces will soon be taken. We are preparing very seriously and will certainly take very serious steps, Zelensky said during a conversation with the top editors of Italian media in Rome on Saturday. I know that we are all anxious, and not only those who know of this plan, but also our people. I cannot tell you when. But you will certainly see it, and Russia will certainly feel it. We believe in victory and believe that the first important steps will be taken soon. Ukrainian forces have already begun to shape operations ahead of the expected counterattack, a senior U.S. military official and senior Western official told CNN. Shaping involves striking targets such as arsenals, command centers, armored systems, and artillery to prepare the battlefield for advancing forces. It's a standard tactic taken before large coordinated operations. Zelensky said on Thursday that his country still needed a little more time before launching a counteroffensive to allow some more promised Western military aid. While many Russian military bloggers believe that Ukrainian forces will attack the southern part of Zaporizhia or the eastern part of Kherson temporarily occupied by Russia, Igor Girkin, a former commander of Russia's Federal Security Service, or FSB for short, that Ukraine will attack Russia. He reasoned that the Zaporizhia and Kherson regions are regions where Russia has worked hard to establish defenses. Hitting those positions is not easy to succeed. Ukraine will attack directly into Russia so that the Russian Defense Ministry has to send troops to save, and that's when they deserve Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Crimea. 3. Ukrainian air defenses shot down all enemy drones targeting Kyiv. During a press conference at the Kyiv Press Center on the afternoon of Sunday, May 14, the spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force, Colonel Yuri Ianat, said that the air warning from Saturday night to Sunday had been issued over the entire territory of Ukraine. On the night of May 13 to 14, Russian invaders attacked Ukraine from many directions with Shahid-136 and 131 combat drones, Caliber missiles fired from ships in the Black Sea, Kh-101 cruise missiles, Kh-555, Kh-55 fired from strategic bomber Tu-95MS. The Ukrainian Air Force destroyed 3 cruise missiles and 25 unmanned aerial vehicles, including 18 Shahid-136 and 131 combat drones, 1 Lancet combat drone, 2 aircraft Orlan, 10 tactical unmanned aerial vehicle, for reconnaissance drones, as well as 3 Kh-101, Kh-555 and Kh-55 cruise missiles. Ukraine's air defenses destroyed all enemy drones launched into Kyiv on Saturday night into Sunday. This is the 7th airstrike on our capital since early May, he said. According to initial information, before midnight, the invaders launched reconnaissance drones towards the capital, most likely to determine the position of our air defense forces. According to him, all drones moving towards Kyiv were destroyed in the airspace around the capital. At night there was also another airborne warning due to the launch of a cruise missile, presumably from a Russian strategic bomber from the direction of the Caspian Sea. However, he stressed that no such cruise missile had been detected in the airspace around the capital. During May 13 and the beginning of May 14, the Tactical Air Force of the Air Force carried out up to 50 sorties to shoot at concentration groups and even Russian aircraft, the command stressed. Strong. 4. Russia shelled western Ukraine intending to assassinate President Zelensky when he went to Italy. At a press conference at the Kyiv Press Center on Sunday, May 14, spokesman for the Ukrainian National Police, Captain Alyona Lyatnitska, said at least 21 people were injured and 2 others hospitalized in the Khmelnytsky region. Western Ukraine after Russian attacks early Saturday morning. Today, the enemy again attacked Khmelnytsky with an attack drone, hitting one of the key infrastructures of the region, located outside the settlements, she said. As of now, we have 21 injured. 2 of them were hospitalized, the rest received medical assistance and were transferred to outpatient treatment. She said there was some damage in the attack. In particular, educational, medical and cultural facilities, administrative buildings, industrial facilities, high-rise buildings and individual residential areas have been damaged. The Ukrainian Air Force said on Saturday that 17 of the 21 Russian drones were intercepted overnight by the country's air defenses. Russia rarely attacks western Ukraine. This usually happens only when they get news of the rail movements of important Ukrainian figures. 5. South Africa's economy fell into crisis after allegations that the South African government had supplied weapons to Russia. White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby on Friday said the Biden administration has repeatedly urged countries not to arm Russia's war with Ukraine when asked about U.S. allegations that South Africa sent a shipment of weapons to Russia. Kirby declined to talk specifically about the South African issue, but said it's a serious issue. The U.S. ambassador to South Africa said on Thursday he was confident a Russian ship was loaded with weapons from South Africa last year. This may violate Pretoria's declaration of neutrality in the Ukraine conflict. Following the ambassador's assertion, the South African rand and government bonds sold off in the market, as currency traders said they were worried that South Africa could now face sanctions of the West. The minister and chairman of South Africa's National Conventional Arms Control Commission, Mondli Gungubile, told local radio station 702 on Friday that South Africa does not approve any arms shipments to Russia. The office of South African President Cyril Ramaphosa on Thursday said his government would open an investigation led by a retired judge into allegations the weapons were shipped to Russia. 6. The head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog, Mr. Rafael Grossi, plans to present an agreement with Russia and Ukraine on the protection of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant before the United Nations Security Council this month, suggesting an agreement is close to being reached, 4 diplomats told Reuters. The director of the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA for short, Grossi has been trying for months to secure an agreement to reduce the risk of a catastrophic nuclear accident caused by military activity such as shelling on Europe's largest nuclear power plant is located in Ukraine and has been invaded by Russia for over a year. With Ukraine preparing to counterattack in the region, there is a risk that fighting near the plant and its 6 reactors will increase. Russia and Ukraine have blamed each other for repeated shelling that cut power lines vital to cooling reactors and preventing nuclear meltdown. Looks promising, one diplomat said of securing a deal. Others said Ukraine, which has long opposed the plan, now supports it while Russia's position is unclear. 7. Former Russian Aerospace Director urges Putin to mobilize for stronger enemy. Newsweek has a report titled "Former Russian Space Chief Calls for Mobilization. The Enemy is Stronger," which means former Russian aerospace chief urges Putin to mobilize for stronger enemy. Dmitry Rogozin, the former head of the Russian space agency, called on President Vladimir Putin to declare a general mobilization, saying that Russia lacks manpower in the war in Ukraine. "We have to remember that the enemy is stronger than us. That's why we need to mobilize," said Rogozin, a former deputy prime minister of Russia under Putin and former general director of Roscosmos, the space agency. Russia said on local radio station Voice of Moscow. Putin removed Rogozin from his position as head of the state-controlled space program in July 2022 without giving a reason for his dismissal. The 59-year-old, known for his inflammatory statements amid the ongoing war in Ukraine, has held the position since 2018. After being fired by the Russian space agency, Rogozin said that he headed a group of military advisors known as the Tsar's Wolves that were involved in providing military technical assistance to the Russians. Combat units of the self-proclaimed Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics participated in Putin's war on Ukraine. There should have been not just one wave in the fall, but another one, said Rogozin, referring to Putin's partial mobilization order in September 2022, issued as Russia suffered huge losses on the battlefield in Ukraine. We have a personnel problem because many people are injured, our fighters are being killed, he said. We are losing people who are willing to fight. They need to be replenished. Rogozin's call for mobilization comes ahead of an expected Ukrainian counterattack to try to reclaim territory invaded by Russia. Putin has so far refused to declare a general mobilization, which would put the country in a position of war. However, his September 2022 order allegedly targeting 300,000 reservists and ex-servicemen with certain military expertise and relevant experience seemed to solve nothing. The Russian leader said in October 2022 that the recruitment was complete, but since then, military observers have assessed that the Russian troops fighting in Ukraine are being augmented by a recruitment round. Secret troops, as Putin feared the backlash that the mass mobilization might cause. Last month, Mikhail Shirmat, a lawmaker in Russia's lower house of parliament and a member of the ruling United Russia Party, said his country could not defeat Ukraine in the ongoing war unless the Russian president declared it. Father, general encouragement must be encouraged. We have to fight with the whole world, as they say, and people have to feel like they belong in the country, Shirmat said. Currently total mobilization is possible. The Kremlin has so far denied rumors that Putin may announce another wave of mobilization. Newsweek has reached out to the Russian Foreign Ministry by email for comment. 8. A Russian defeat in Ukraine will not hinder China's rise, while relations between Beijing and the European Union will be seriously affected if Xi Jinping does not push Vladimir Putin to withdraw army. The message was drafted by the European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, who met with 27 EU foreign ministers on Friday in Stockholm to discuss how the bloc should readjust its policy toward Beijing. Along with the war in Ukraine, relations with China have become Europe's most pressing foreign policy issue, but EU politicians have different lines on how to deal with North Korea. Qin is increasingly repressive and nationalist, revealed in a wave of outrage over Emmanuel Macron's comments about not being drawn into the war. A US-China clash over Taiwan. In a letter to ministers accompanying the article, Borrell highlighted at least 3 reasons for adjusting the EU's course. China's internal changes, with nationalism and ideology, thought is on the rise, China's position as a key player in the region and the world is fierce. 9. The prime ministers of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania said on Friday that they are considering accelerating a plan to disconnect the Baltic region's electricity supply from the Russian grid. Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas said in a joint press conference with the prime ministers of Latvia and Lithuania that, "Today we have agreed to continue discussing the acceleration as soon as all our studies are concluded." And technical studies, especially on production capacity and the energy crisis, will allow us to clarify the details and exact timing of this process, she added. 10. The commander of Russia's Black Sea Fleet says its defenses are being tightened amid a series of Ukrainian drone strikes targeting its base, the Crimean port of Sevastopol, an area that the Russian Federation announced it annexed from Ukraine in 2014. Reuters reports Vice Admiral Viktor Sokolov told the Friday edition of the Krasnaya Zvezda military newspaper, regarding the threat of attack by surface and underwater robotic systems, "We have strengthened our defenses. Engineering for the fleet's main base and ships' anchorages." Sokolov said the Black Sea Fleet, whose flagship is the cruiser Moskva, sunk by Ukraine in April 2022, will receive 4 new ships in 2023. Sevastopol has been hit by drones several times since Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. 11. Zelensky arrives in Berlin on his first visit since the Russian invasion. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Berlin overnight as he sought to bolster support from key allies. Already in Berlin, Zelensky tweeted shortly after midnight on Saturday, after arriving from Italy, where he met Italian officials and Pope Francis. The trip comes after the German government announced a new military package worth €2.7 billion as Ukrainian forces prepare for a counteroffensive to regain territory occupied by Russia. According to local media reports, Zelensky is scheduled to meet German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and President Frank-Walter Steinmeier in the morning. He could also go to the western German city of Aachen, where the Charlemagne Prize was presented to him and the people of Ukraine, an honor given for efforts to promote European unification. On Saturday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Italian President Sergio Mattarella discussed supporting Ukraine, the formula for peace, increasing sanctions pressure on Russia and bringing the aggressor to justice. Unfortunately, I don't have time to shake hands with everyone, hug them, thank them for the support Italy has given Ukraine, our people, displaced people, from the first day of the full-scale invasion, to thank them for such a warm attitude towards the Ukrainians, Zelensky said. He expressed gratitude for Italy's consistent stance in supporting Ukraine and assisting Ukraine in defending its sovereignty and territorial integrity. We are extremely grateful to Italy for its vital defense assistance to Ukraine against Russian aggression. The key to our success on the battlefield is getting the necessary support in a timely manner, Zelensky said. He expressed hope for further support from Italy. In addition, he noted the need to further strengthen international pressure on the aggressor state, especially through new sanctions. In this war, Italy was and still is on the side of right, on the side of truth. We are aiming for victory. Because victory also means peace for our country. I am sure that Italian society completely shares our attitude, our righteous struggle against Russia's unprovoked war, Zelensky said. The leaders of the two countries focused on Ukraine's efforts to restore peace based on the Ukraine peace formula. I appreciate Italy's willingness to participate in the implementation of our formula of peace. I have confidence in Italy's participation in the Global Peace Summit, which will take place this year, Zelensky said. He also praised Italy's support for international efforts to hold Russia accountable for crimes in Ukraine. He especially thanked Italy for its support for the relevant work of the International Criminal Court and for its participation in the core group on the establishment of the Special Court for the crime of invasion of Ukraine. 12. Intelligence Bulletin of the UK Department of Defence Intelligence. In the latest intelligence report, the intelligence service of the UK Ministry of Defence stated that the Russian army today is more exhausted and less capable than the invasion force 446 days ago. On paper, Russia's United Army Group in Ukraine is organized similarly to the invasion force of 446 days ago. It still likely included more than 200,000 soldiers organized into about 70 regiments and combat brigades divided into 5 army groups. It still struggles with limited freedoms when it comes to air operations. However, as of February 2022, it includes professional military personnel, equipped with most modern facilities, and has been trained regularly, wants to participate in complex and common activities. Now, this force is mainly a poorly trained mobilized reserve and increasingly dependent on outdated equipment, with many of its units severely underpowered. It usually only conducts very simple, infantry-based operations. Crucially, United Army Corps did not have the capacity to create a large, mobile reserve capable of responding to emerging tactical challenges. It is hardly an organization that can effectively combine large-scale military impact along 1,200 kilometers of strained front lines. 13. The founder of Wagner told the lies of the Kremlin that led to the global tragedy for Russia. Newsweek has a report titled Kremlin Lies Leading to Global Tragedy for Russia, Wagner Founder, which means founder Wagner told lies of the Kremlin that led to a global tragedy for Russia. Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of the Wagner Group, warned that the lies of the Russian Defense Ministry would lead to a global tragedy for Russia amid the ongoing war with Ukraine that began in February of this year. Prigozhin criticized the Defense Ministry in a video with English subtitles posted on Twitter on Friday by BBC Monitor journalist Francis Scar. The remarks by the leader of the Wagner Group, a top ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, relate to the statement that Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov made on Friday about the situation in the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. Konashenkov suggested that some Russian military units had regrouped to advance to more favorable positions, but the founder of the Wagner Group denied that claim. Konashenkov said, in order to strengthen the stability of the defense, units of the Army, South Army of the Russian Army took up the line in the direction of Maloylianovka, noting that the units took into account favorable conditions of the Berkivka Reservoir. However, Prigozhin rejected the statement of the Russian Defense Ministry, saying that the Russian army was fleeing from Bakhmut rather than regrouping. The Wagner Corporation, a private paramilitary unit, has been involved in the months-long battle in Bakhmut against the Ukrainian army as well as other operations across the Eastern European country. In a clip posted on Friday, Prigozhin claims that Russia is close to taking control of Bakhmut and claims that there are only about 20 multi-story buildings left. However, he added that control of the city doesn't bring the Russian Federation anything because the flanks are collapsing and the front is failing. And the Department of Defense's efforts to somehow resolve the situation in the media space are leading, and will lead, to a global tragedy for Russia. So stop lying immediately, he warned. If you guys decide to run away, establish new lines of defense. But what you have trained for that defense is not capable of holding that defense. They simply don't do anything. And so what's been happening lately, and what I've been warning about for a long time, is coming. And it is leading to a great tragedy for our country. His comments came shortly after he criticized the Russian Defense Ministry and threatened to withdraw his fighters from Bakhmut for lack of ammunition and support from the Russian Defense Ministry. Earlier this month, Prigozhin said that his fighters would leave Bakhmut on May 10 due to lack of ammunition. In a message posted on the press service of Prigozhin's company Concord, Prigozhin mentioned Putin, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov. However, Politico reported on Wednesday, citing two senior U.S. officials, that Wagner Group forces still hold most of the territory in Bakhmut and have ammunition stockpiles. Kim Twee would like to open brackets to add that according to Politico newspaper, boss Wagner Yevgeny Prigozhin foretold that he could not keep the parts that had captured Bakhmut city, so he was trying to blame the Russian Ministry of Defense. He did not. Lack of ammunition. Newsweek has emailed the Russian Defense Ministry for comment.